every year at this time, my biggest area of interest, my biggest area of focus is ultimately who should face The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And that got me to thinking over the past couple of weeks, who should The Undertaker face in the next few WrestleManias? I'm assuming that maybe Taker has another 3 to 5 WrestleMania matches in him, assuming his body holds up, assuming that he still wants to do it. Because the WWE, as long as The Undertaker can work a headline caliber WrestleMania match, they're going to want to have him involved. I mean, he just represents too much money for them, and the streak becomes its own monster in and of itself. He's too important to the WWE at that event, at that show, to not have him involved if he can be in any way, shape, or form, especially in the ring. And, to me, Undertaker represents a lot of things. And when it comes to the WWE and WrestleMania, here's what he represents ultimately. Because of the respect that I have for him, because of the admiration I have for him, because of what he represents to me, having watched him since I was 9 years old, and he being that one guy that was there through all the changes and evolutions in the business over the years, if I didn't watch the WWE anymore, and I didn't watch professional wrestling at all anymore, I would still order WrestleMania every year as long as Undertaker was on the card, because I would still want to see The Undertaker wrestle. It's like that one last chance for me to really be a kid still. Be a kid while watching professional wrestling, and be a kid that is just enjoying being a fan of wrestling and loving professional wrestling. That's what Undertaker represents to me. So I was thinking about, who would I have him face at the next few WrestleManias? And I could go with a couple of different philosophies. I could go the dream matchup route and maybe have it be Lesnar this year and Sting next year, The Rock at WrestleMania 32, John Cena at WrestleMania 33. Those are some big time dream kind of money matchups that we've never seen at WrestleMania. Him and Lesnar, definitely. You look at Sting and Taker. Remember the excitement level on the internet when people were thinking that the Sting was actually coming to the WWE and he was going to wrestle Taker at WrestleMania 27? That's a monster match. I mean, and that is a big time dream matchup, because for so many years, especially when Taker was Goth Taker and Sting was Crow Sting, I mean, you just thought of those two guys and the way they kind of carried themselves, and you're like, man, these guys could probably go out there and tear the fucking house down. And for older fans still to this day, I think that's a match that they would still love to see. It could be Sting's last moment in the sun. It could be that one real big headline main event type of WWE match that he's never had, because he's never worked for the company. It would be that WrestleMania moment, that chance for a WrestleMania dream match that Sting's never had, but he could with The Undertaker. As far as The Rock, hell, you could bring him in as Hollywood heel Rock if you wanted to. You don't have to, but he's done pretty much everything he could do. He's main evented WrestleManias. He's won titles. He's beaten everybody he could beat. He's become a big time movie star, but the one thing he's never done is face The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and he wants to come back to do that one last thing, to face him at WrestleMania and have a chance to end the streak. And that right there, you have The Rock versus The Undertaker as the headline match of WrestleMania 32. You're not going to have to worry about selling out the venue. That'll take care of itself in quick order, and you'll have a ton of people watch that Mania, more than what would average usually do. And I think that match would be a bigger draw than The Rock versus John Cena. But then we get to John Cena. That to me is the one dream matchup, featuring somebody that is a full-time regular on the everyday roster, that you could still have with The Undertaker. And imagine at this point in time, by the time he got to WrestleMania 33, Undertaker's 24-0, and John Cena's done it all pretty much. And he wants to establish himself as the greatest of all time and a true all-time great, and The Undertaker wants to face him because he's never had that opportunity, and he wants one last moment in the sun. You don't need to have any belts. You don't need to dress this up. It's John Cena versus The Undertaker. This is one dream matchup I think that if the WWE never goes with, someday they will deep down inside really regret it, and they'll kick themselves for never giving us this at WrestleMania. It is the monster of monster matchups that this company could possibly have. On the flip side of that, I could sit there and say, well, if you only got Undertaker for a few more years, you need to get as much out of that 2+ decade investment in his character and in this WrestleMania streak as you possibly can. So let's use this to elevate some guys. This year, Daniel Bryan. How about him coming out when the Authority sits there and looks down on Daniel Bryan and tries to mock Daniel Bryan and mock the fans for loving Daniel Bryan? How about you have The Undertaker come out and issue the challenge to Daniel Bryan, because he feels Daniel Bryan is the best in the business today, and he wants to see if he still has it. And Undertaker wants to see if at WrestleMania he's still the measuring stick, or if Daniel Bryan's now the measuring stick, and he wants to afford him the same opportunity he did CM Punk. It would do a ton to help Daniel Bryan's career and establish him as a legit top guy. You can sit there and have him win the title at WrestleMania. I don't give a shit. You give me Daniel Bryan versus The Undertaker, that does more to me to establish Daniel Bryan as a top guy for the long term in the WWE. Then at WrestleMania 31, maybe you could do Sheamus, especially if you've turned him back heel and you're trying to make a monster heel. You know, Sheamus is a guy that you would anticipate being around for quite a number of years, at least another 7 to 8. So it would make some sense that you want to get him into a big time WrestleMania spot with a big time WrestleMania match, and Undertaker would be by far his biggest WrestleMania match. WrestleMania 32, it's got to be Bray Wyatt. You have got to take this guy and make him into a future opponent for The Undertaker. And when you think about the Wyatt family and Bray Wyatt's approach to things with his character and how they work, how he works, it just seems to make a lot of sense that he would feud with Taker. And then WrestleMania 33, I think you got to go with Roman Reigns. You want to sit there and establish Roman Reigns as a future top guy. If you want to establish him at this point in time of, by the time you get to WrestleMania 33, 3 years from now, not just as a top guy, but perhaps the heir apparent to John Cena as the top guy, maybe you'd have him do one thing that John Cena even never did, and that was face The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And Roman Reigns at that point in time would be the most credible threat to The Undertaker's streak, especially if you've had Roman Reigns pretty much beat everybody else and do everything else. So I kind of, when I look at it, when all said and done, I could go with that route, I could go with the dream matchup route, or I could do some kind of hybrid combination of the two. And here's what I would do. WrestleMania 30, I think this year Daniel Bryan's earned that spot. He's earned the right to face The Undertaker, and I think he could have the best match with Undertaker. WrestleMania 31, I want to see Sting. That's the old school fan in me. I want to see Sting have that one headline match at a WrestleMania for the WWE, and I want to see him and Taker face off. It's something I've wanted to see for many years now. WrestleMania 32, Bray Wyatt. It's got to be Bray Wyatt. It makes too much sense, and by this time, you know, it's 2 years from now. You could have had him be world champion. You could have had him do so many other things. You could establish him as a real credible threat. And then WrestleMania 33, it's got to be John Cena. Like I said, that's the ultimate dream matchup for me that the WWE could give me out of somebody on the full-time everyday roster to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania. It would create the most intrigue. It would create the most possibilities. It would create the most uncertainty amongst fans about whether or not Taker's streak is going to hit. And when the fans can't predict, that just gets them glued to it even more. And if I had Taker wrestle one more WrestleMania after that, maybe it would be Roman Reigns. Maybe you would have him drop the streak to Roman Reigns. I don't know. But that's kind of who I would like to see him face over the next few WrestleManias. Daniel Bryan this year, Sting next year, Bray Wyatt the year after that, and then John Cena with a chance to go 25-0 at WrestleMania 33. Feel free to let me know who you think Taker should face at this year's WrestleMania and who you'd still like to see Taker face for WrestleManias to come. And there's no like really right or wrong answer here. If you like the dream matchup philosophy, you like the young guys philosophy, you like my kind of hybrid philosophy, or you have kind of your own philosophy, let me know in the comments section down below. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say.